Hello, and welcome to another episode of Naked Talk. We're here today to talk with a woman from the sacred sex community, Monique Darling, and we're really excited about it. She's going to be in Boulder, Colorado coming up in the near future, and we'll get into all of that shortly. But one of the questions that we wanted to really throw out there for you is things that we're going to answer are things about what is energetic sex. And how can you get some of that? We're also going to talk about her pink puja. Like, what is a pink puja? I've had so many questions about that already. It's been fun to really answer those. But we'll get it straight from the horse's mouth, so to speak.
So welcome to Beyond the Bedroom. I'm laughing because I love how he starts this compared to how I start this.
Yeah,
welcome
well, you know.
to Naked Talk with Beyond the Bedroom. I'm Elizabeth Wood.
And I'm Dan Powers.
And we are here, as Dan said, to talk with Monique Darling. Naked Talk is where we get naked in a conversation of sexuality, intimacy, and relationship. We strip down and expose the bare facts so you can learn what it takes for your love to thrive. So welcome to this episode. We're going to get right to it. Dan, would you go ahead and introduce Monique, and then we'll bring her on board.
Oh, what can we say about Monique? She's very unique. We met her at the Sex Geek summer camp, and she's got just such beautiful energy for the whole thing. And we met her at Dulles Airport, and then got a ride with her on the bus, and then saw her for the entire week. And she's a very interesting woman, a former Mormon who's been getting into sacred sexuality. She's been part of the ISTA
training.
And those trainings that were down in Sedona, and we can let her tell you a little bit more about all of that. But she's also been going around the United States teaching and creating a large number of smaller communities that I think is even growing. So I'm very excited to hear more about what that has to offer for us. Anything you have to say?
Well, actually, I came upon Monique in, I think it was the year 2009. I was actually at a conference with out in Sedona, at the Sedona Temple. I think it's the former Sedona Temple. And there was this gorgeous redhead in the background. She actually wasn't part of the conference. She was behind the scenes as part of the residential community living there. And I was just mesmerized by when she was popping in and out. So when I saw her at the Dulles Airport, I had a sneaking suspicion that I'd seen and been around this energy before. So I now formally know her and look forward to spending much more time with her. She is just, I mean, talk about pleasure and passion. In Monique's beautiful body, she has more pleasure and more passion than I think, you know, a handful of other people combined. So I'm really excited to see what fun we're going to have today, what fun we're going to have with her during the weekend she's here. And I just can't wait to share her with all of you. So, Monique, come on board.
Yeah.
Hi, guys. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for that beautiful introduction.
You're welcome, and thank you for being here. We're really excited to have you here. And there's so many questions that I know I have, and hopefully our audience will have as well. But first of all, let's just kind of jump into it, unless you have anything you want to get started with.
Well, I think your history is so interesting, Monique. Can you share a little bit about how you started on this path?
Well, I spent my first 33 years being I grew up Mormon, and so I was following that dream. And so I got married in the temple. I had 3 kids. My husband and I were the first ones on both sides of our family to make enough money to get a house. And, you know, we had the white picket fence, we had a dog and cat, and all the things that I was told, oh, well, this will make you happy. And I love my children, I love my husband, I love the dog and cat and having the home, but there was still something that was missing. And when I turned 33, then I started going out to conventions in LA and working behind the scenes for, like, Joss Whedon was our family's hero because he worked with women's empowerment. And so I started meeting these stars, and later I realized, oh, these are people that were working close to their soul purpose. But at the time it was just, oh, there's something different, like I feel something here. And I started creating my own version of Cuddle Party for all of these people that would come from around the world for conventions, and they wanted to have have some way of intermingling with each other that was intimate without being sexual. And so I started creating my own little groups for us to interact. And then they sent me a link to an actual cuddle party, and that's where I met Reid Mahauko, and he began my whole journey.
Okay. So that's really interesting. You created your own version of cuddle parties before they even started. And I know you are an official cuddle party facilitator. Tell me, what's the difference between what you did in your cuddle events and what you learned with Reid's and the whole cuddle party genre?
Yeah, and I think it's really important to explain what cuddle parties are, because they're newer, if you will, to our area, and they're fascinating, and it's a unique opportunity. So I'll let you share more.
Okay. Well, Cuddle Party itself is comprised of 11 rules, and it's actually interesting because I'm working on a book now with those rules and how you can take them out into life. But the fantastic part about Cuddle Parties is the first 45 minutes are using those rules to create a container for people to be able to interact with one another. And it was really what gave me back the gift of my voice. Like, it starts teaching you that in order to get to a powerful yes, you really have to be in touch with your no, because otherwise you can't trust your yes, and other people can't trust your yeses. And rule number 5, which is my favorite, is if you are a maybe, say no. Like that, it cuts through so much time and pressure. And when you say maybe, then people are sitting and hovering around you just waiting for an answer, and that can occur as pressure. So if you just say no, then it lets them free to go and find someone that's a hell yes in the moment, and it gives you time to realize, oh, if A, B, and C happen, I am a yes. Or even more important, you can realize before you're halfway in the middle of an activity that you really are a no. And so why even start doing it? So cuddle parties themselves are a way to get strangers, it doesn't have to be complete strangers, but people even that don't know each other very well. And within that 45 minutes, they start feeling intimate enough to be able to cuddle, to be able to have conversations. And like another unique thing about cuddle parties is no one has to cuddle ever. And I've had cuddle parties where people sit and play board games all night, and they sit and have conversations all night. So you get to have this safe space to be able to create the evening that you want, where touch is available, and it's completely non-sexual. And so many people have collapsed sex with touch that it gives you this experience of being able to use your voice, ask for what you want, without sex being on the table. So you have this whole other avenue and doorways to be able to explore what touch is for you.
That's fantastic. I know there are a lot of questions around what do people wear? Are they naked? Do they come in pajamas? Could you answer that question?
I'm sorry, you guys froze for a second. Could you ask me again?
It's about what people wear at cuddle parties. Do they come in pajamas? Do they get naked? I think that's a big question.
Yeah, no, rule number 1 is that clothing stays on the whole night. So that's the easiest way to keep it non-sexual. So yes, there's no nudity at cuddle parties. People can wear pajamas. And some do. Some drive in their car. I think that's awesome to arrive in pajamas. Others will just bring pajamas and change in the bathroom before we get started. And other people just wear jeans or sweats. And so it's whatever feels comfortable for you to be able to come to. But usually 3/4 of the room are in like flannel jammies, onesies, just these fun pajamas.
That's really cool. I know there's something recently in the news that's talked about these organizations called something around snuggling, and there was a judge that ruled that the snuggle facilitator was actually, was creating sex. They kind of viewed it as prostitution, even though all people are really doing is cuddling together. They're not taking off their clothes. That isn't sex, but some people are still so afraid of that that they're even taking it to court. And in the snuggle realm, not in the cuddle parties that I'm aware of, because this is just an open party that is available, and facilitators run these, and they're highly trained in what it is they're doing. It's not like somebody's just coming in off the street saying, hey, let's get together and do this. There's people that are really trained in it. Can you talk a little bit about that training process?
Absolutely. And for me, like I'm so passionate about cuddle parties. I just finished my 327th one last week. So that's
Wow.
in 4 years. That's how many I've done. And I love it. And I love the feeling of having people come from all around and be able to, and even if they've already known each other in community, there's just something special that happens as they walk out of the room. Like first you have oxytocin that flows through. It's like the cuddle drug. So you feel loved and held and so you have that, but as you walk out of the room, you just feel so radiant and so worthy just because, for you being there. But the training process, when I went through it, then we had a facilitator weekend training. And so we get together and have 3 days of really intensive training of being able to hold space for people. And then you go on from there to have phone calls with a smaller group of people. And so now you can do all of it online, but it's still like a 24-hour. You used to have 24 different single hours that you have with with Len or with Marsha, with one of the trainers, so that they really drill you and go through things and make sure that you're available to be able to hold space. You also have to be CPR certified, so that you can hold that, so that you really are holding this safe container. And then each of us sign an integrity statement that we're going to follow all of the rules and the things that we've agreed to hold for people. And then we practice with each other. We have 3 practice cuddle parties where we have feedback from our peers of all the people that come to the cuddle parties, and you have to have a specific level of feedback in order to even move on and start holding your own cuddle parties.
Wow. I mean, even though you've facilitated hundreds, I know that's only a small part of your work. So I want to let everybody know that this is going to be your first time here with us in Colorado. We're hoping to launch multiple return trips, but you're actually not going to be facilitating a cuddle party this time. What you are going to be facilitating is what's known as a pink puja. What is a pink puja, and how does it differ from any other color puja?
Well, pink is in the Tantra realm, then white is completely non-sexual, it's very spiritual, red can go into the sexuality realm, and so pink is somewhere in between. So it's being able to be spiritual, and you also taste your sensuality. So it's a really total embodiment is how I like to explain it, and so that we're able to feel into our bodies. And so we're going to dive into that through our 5 senses. And so there'll be feeding and there'll be touch. And the touch is so fantastic because I bring it from 2 different types from one of my dear friends, Betty Martin, that's from Seattle. And so she has this circle of consent that talks about giving and receiving and also taking and allowing. So we have an exercise in the Pink Puja where you actually get to touch for your own pleasure. And so the person that you're touching negotiates with you where it's okay for you to touch on their body, and then they just relax, and you get to touch them for your pleasure. And so how often in your life do you really take advantage of the gift of someone offering you their body? Here's this beautiful blank canvas, and you get to touch it the way you want to. And some of the gifts of that exercise is you get out of your head. You stop wondering, am I touching them right? And, am I doing this right? Is this okay? Do they like it? And you just start getting to go from your own joy. And 99% of the time, the person that's being touched, when you touch that way, they're in absolute bliss in the heaven because they can feel that you're touching from your joy, and they get to get out of their head too. So that's just one of the exercises. We have about 15 of them. So with puja itself, then a puja is a devotion or an offering. And so during my pujas, then you get the opportunity and the invitation to fall in love with everybody that comes and sits in front of you. And so if couples come, they have the option of staying with their partner, or they can go through a rotation and be able to rotate with everybody that's in the room. And
I think that's really key, too. A lot of people who are familiar with pujas here in Colorado, there's a rotation. It's typically been a inner circle of the feminine, outer circle of the masculine. And there's some people that have been a little bit worried about that. So that's great to hear that people can stay out of the rotation if they want, but still get the value of all the different exercises that you're doing.
Yes, it's just a whole other experience. Like if you come with one partner and you go through the entire rotation together, then you leave with this huge depth. But hopefully if I've done my job right, then even if you've stayed with that partner, when you walk out the door, then you've realized that you've fallen madly in love with you. because for me, that's the intention of puja, is that you have these different reflections that sit before you that are all reflections of you. And so each different aspect brings out more and more of this devotion and this adoration for yourself.
So a lot of times we hear what I heard you say was that couples as well as singles are welcome and included. What about gender balance? Because that's something that you do slightly differently. And I will, as a disclaimer, let everybody know that Dan and I have participated in one of Monique's pink pujas.
That was private information.
And it was one of the funnest pujas that I've ever experienced. But
you've done a lot.
Yeah. So again, about the gender balance, it's something that you do. I don't know if it's specific to you, Monique, but I know that you talked about it at the beginning of the puja that we attended.
Well, a lot of my peers now are doing some of the similarities. Like when I got into Tantra, then every single puja I went to was gender balanced. And when I started doing pujas, it was that way too. But I had a lot of people that didn't fit in either gender, and they didn't feel comfortable just having to sit across from a man or a woman, or they wanted to really be able to have the freedom to explore what it felt like with different energy types. And a big part of my work in general is being able to get people past labels and be able to just identify with energy. Because for me, we're all energetic beings. And so we'll talk about that in a little bit when we talk about energetic sex. But for the puja, then I just give people numbers. So you're a 1 or a 2, and you get to sit across. Again, everyone's at choice. Like, that's so huge for me, is that everyone's at choice. Anything I offer is all invitation. And so people can sit out. They can do any exercise by themselves or with their partner. But if you choose to rotate and if you choose to have a different experience, then I'll give people numbers. And then sometimes you're going to be sitting in front of the same gender. Sometimes you'll be sitting in front of opposite gender. And depending on who shows up, maybe it will be someone that goes back and forth throughout the night of whether they're a god or goddess. And that's awesome because you get to have these different experiences. And for me, the most opening thing was when I had a man sit across from another man, and he was holding his tears. Like, there's one exercise where you trace tears down the person's face and hold their tears for all the times in their life that they were not able to have that emotion held or respected. And afterwards, in our closing circle, then the man that was having his tears held was just sobbing, and he said, when he grew up, not only would his dad say, go shut up, go in the corner, you're a sissy, but he would actually be punished for crying. And the man that was sitting across from him looked just like his father, and for him to hold those tears was one of the most healing experiences he's ever had.
Well, that's so beautiful. I'm really excited. That'll be really fun. I want everyone to know that that's Friday night of Monique's 4-day journey with us.
Yeah, so let's go back a day, because on Thursday we're doing a pleasure panel at Naropa University. That's going to be moderated by Carol Clements, who is I believe she is the Dean of Undergraduate Students at Naropa, and just an awesome woman. She teaches a class called Erotic Intelligence, and it's a phenomenal class. We've had
we want to audit it.
Yeah, we've had an opportunity to go in a number of times for different things, and it's been fabulous.
Her syllabus is rich.
Yeah.
Anyway, she's the moderator.
She's the moderator. Elizabeth and I are going to be on that panel as well. And also Deb Azarski, who is a sex therapist here in Boulder, Colorado. And then Jenna, and I forget her last name. I should look these up.
Jenna of Burlesque, Boulder.
Yeah, Boulder Burlesque.
That's probably why you forgot her name, because of her job. Anyway, it's going to be an amazing panel. Monique, basically, we're going to be talking about.
So Monique's on that as well.
And Monique, yes. Yeah. So it's free at Naropa University on Thursday, November 20th. Check out bedevents.com for all the details and which campus it's at. But it's going to, we don't know the questions yet. We just know we're going to be talking about pleasure, passion, eroticism, arousal, and, who better than Monique on that panel? I'm not really sure what to ask you about that, Monique, but how much fun do you think we're going to have?
Oh, I love panels in particular because every single one is so different according to who shows up and what questions they ask. And so when I started doing conferences or Q&As, I would sit up there with my heart pounding because I'm, oh no, what question's going to be asked? And so I kept getting myself up there again and again and again because, that's my way. If I'm scared, I'm going to keep doing it. And now it's just beautiful because the questions are so unknown. Then there's this beautiful depth that can come out from each of us, anyone who's on the panel, plus usually in the room too. There's every time a question is asked, then everybody in the room starts answering it in their own head. So you get to have this incredible experience of the unknown within each other, and then often there's an underlying theme where, especially where we share a lot of the same underlying framework with our teachings, then it's this beautiful dance that we'll all get to combine and share our wisdoms around any of the things. And for me, any question, the best answer we can offer is an even better question. So then people can just keep on asking deeper and deeper questions around whatever it is they're curious about.
Yeah, that's fantastic. We anticipate, so Naropa University, for you, we have a graduate and undergraduate schools, 2 of them. It's also open to the general public. So I think we're going to gather a wide audience. Some may be familiar with you, some may not. Definitely people will be familiar with Dan and myself, we hope. It's been broadcast everywhere. So that's going to kick off the entire weekend. Again, that's free. So come and ask your questions, and who knows, maybe you'll then join us for any of the activities throughout the weekend.
Yeah, and it's going to be really fun to be there. And like Monique said, these questions that come up to us, we have no idea what's going to be asked of us. And we've all got different experiences and a lot of crossover as well. I've already heard Monique talk about touching for your own pleasure, which is something that we've talked about a number of times, even on these Naked Talks. So it's really going to be a lot of fun. I'm really looking forward to that. So let's jump into Saturday. Saturday we've got 3 different classes that are coming up, and you can sign up for all of them or take them individually. The first one is around shame. Why don't you tell us a little bit about that if you could?
Okay, well, in my experience, then what happens is when you're able to dive into your shadow pieces and some of the pieces that we feel are unlovable or unspeakable or that really hold a charge for us, and then you're able to dive into those together and be able to own and acknowledge and accept those pieces, then on the other side is so much room and space for joy and ecstasy, which we will travel in later on in the day. So in the morning, then we're going to talk about the differences between guilt and shame and be able to dive into places where it may have been handed to us from parents, from teachers, from society, from churches, and be able to start unraveling other people's voices with our own inner voice, which is actually silence and feelings. So if you're hearing voices, they're not your voice. So it's like being able to weed through all of the voices and get to that inner calm feeling that's really you. So the beauty of the morning class is that we're going to do some tools, we're going to dive in, we're going to have a vulnerability circle where we all get to share, and we get to see how closely related many of our shame stories and our guilt stories are to one another, and then be able to reparent ourselves and each other so that then in the afternoon, then we're able to step forward into our dream life.
Yeah, now that's really cool because we taught a couple classes on shame recently, shame for men and the shame for women during our monthly events in Denver. And vulnerability is, you can't
get rid of shame without being vulnerable.
Right, exactly. So that's really going to be exciting to see a different perspective on how to go through that.
We get to participate.
Yep, we get to participate in that one too.
Yeah.
So then the next class we've got is the Waking Up to Your Dream Life. So tell us a little bit about that one.
Well, for that, so often in life, then people come to me and say, how do I do this? How do I do this, Monique? Or they're like trying to get another letters at the back of their name or another training or another workshop under their belt. And so the idea of this class is that you're already ready right now. And so it's being able to give yourself permission. And so it's all of us inspiring one another. Like we get to talk about different poetry. And so we divide, one part of the class, we divide into 3 different groups. And there's 3 of my favorite poems. And so we get to read them together and come up with our own points. And so then we're all get to teach the class from each of these differing perspectives. And so you have your little group that you then become your own leaders. So you're going to do a 5-minute workshop all your own. And so there's many different tools and aspects of this whole class where you're getting to step into your own greatness, because it's already there, and it's not the how-to, it's what is in the way of you being the amazing, magnificent self that you are.
Nice. And so how long is that going to last?
That's 3 hours.
Okay. We'll have a little bit of time for that. Nice.
And again, all of these come single, come with a partner. Everything, the whole weekend is fully clothed. There are no clothing optional events this weekend. Want to make sure that everybody feels safe and comfortable. And anything else in terms of the details about that one?
Nope.
Again,
sign up on our website.
Yep, Bet Events has the specifics at greater length on all 3 of the classes for Saturday. So let's jump into energetic sex.
Well, energetic sex is the fabulous way of being able to expand the playground on what sex means to you, or means to all of us. And so this is a class that I've taught with Reed Mahalko, with Lawrence Lanoff, and it's actually because Cuddle Party, I trained and learned how to do that from facilitators, and my own energetic sex class was mine. Like, I've been playing in the realm of energetics since I was 3 years old, and so that was like the first one that I stepped out, and it was a whole being weekend here in California. And they're like, okay, what do I have to offer? And my dear friend Sid said, Monique, go do this, because I just felt like it was really hard for me to be able to step into my own dream life and be able to offer what I felt like, well, there's so many other people doing this, and the room was overflowing. We couldn't fit any more people in there, and it was so much fun. And so what the idea is energy resonance. And so you take the idea of 2 tuning forks, and so you strike one tuning fork and then another tuning fork of the exact same frequency, even if it's a football field length away, will start vibrating. And so if you can strike this one hard enough, then this one vibrates hard enough, then you create this circuit so that you're making this entirely new pleasurable circuit, that then when this one stops vibrating, this side also stops vibrating. And so that's the same with us. And so when we can hit on another person's energetic frequency, then we start creating this experience together that's not cording in or like pouring energy into each other. We're just resonating with each other. And so we're gonna, like, the whole evening is about being able to tap into first our own chord, our own note, and how energy occurs to us, and then how to be able to tap into each other. And so the idea is that you're playing the other person's note from within your body, so that then you're creating this experience, and then when you tune off of their note, then the experience goes down and you're both able to just walk away. Like, it's such a clean way to be able to play with energy. And then my favorite part that's all my own, and now many of my peers play with it, is called the can I say the F word on here?
Of course. No FCC here.
So it's called the heart fuck, and it's really being able to pull all of the active energy, or like you pull your energetic cock energy up through your body, through your heart, and be able to penetrate your partner, and your partner turns into their receptive, or their their vulva, their pussy energy, and they're able to really be receptive and receive that. And then there's many different positions and ways that you can play with that. And again, the whole evening is just about being able to find more ways the energy can be fun for you. And it's being able to have some words for the skeptics out there that are just like, what is happening right now? Or people, because especially me, I'm very demonstrative, and so I'll start getting twitchies and the energy just pours through my body. But other people, they don't feel anything, but they're still offering these huge experiences. So it's being able to let people feel, oh, well, the nothing with the energy feels a little bit different than the nothing when I'm just sitting by myself. So it's being able to allow people to know that any way that you play with energy is okay. You're not broken. There's not, and the whole idea is, whether it's real or not, are you having fun, and are there more ways to be able to play with your partners? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I really think that that's great, to have fun. Don't do things if it's not fun. Have fun. Go forward with it. And for people who are kind of on the fence, like, well, I don't know about this weird stuff I've never heard of. I mean, sex is supposed to be man, woman, penis, vagina, that kind of intercourse type thing. I would really offer that there's so much more out there that's available. And what's the harm in trying some of the stuff? I mean, we're not gonna get naked in here, so you get to learn a new experience in a very safe environment. very female friendly as well. So, a lot of the trainings that she's done with, or that you've done, Monique, with Cuddle Parties, I assume facilitates in this as well. So I'm very excited about that.
And again, this is a non-sexual touch. It's just, if you will, touching with energy, correct?
Mm-hmm.
Yes, yep. And this was at Burning Man this last year. Then we had 350 people show up for this class.
Wow.
We couldn't have fit one more person there. So it's them. Anyone that comes to this class, they tell all their friends about it. It's definitely my most popular class out there.
Are you the one that set? Are you guys that 350 person group? Is that the one that set the man on fire? Or was that a different day?
No, that was a different night. But no, we were at Sacred Spaces, and so we were outside on the stage and just had this incredible experience of people being able to all be tapping into energy at the same time. It was so beautiful.
Oh, that's great.
I'll send you guys a video. We have about a 5-minute video of part of that experience that you can see all the people, so I'll send that to you so you can share it with your groups.
Oh, that's great, because when Dan, after this airs, Dan goes in and does a little bit of editing, and he can attach that video. So that'd be fun for the audience who doesn't see this live to then be able to do that. So that'd be great.
Yeah.
It'd be fun. Definitely. Might blow up the computer screen. Who knows? There's so much energy.
Well, no, we can't blow up the internet because somebody else already did that apparently. But
well, good. We're not the first. And then that leads us to Sunday, which is an all-day women's-only event. So do share the juicy details of that.
Well, Sunday is the one day that there will be some nudity involved. And you don't have to get undressed, but there is going to be a live demo and in the afternoon that will include some nudity. And then people are at choice, the women are at choice as to the level of undress that they want to go to as they work with each other. But what the idea of the Dakini Circle, again, this started 3 years ago. I did this in Toronto, and it's an incredible space that we spend the first 2.5 hours of dropping competition and comparison and being able to be ultra vulnerable with each other as women, because so often in our life, then, well, at least for me, then I felt like this isn't my species. Like, what am I doing here? Because I did not feel at all like there was I don't like playing games. And I would just be so direct, and like all the women in my life just felt so different from me. And so this has been so healing for me in general, and like all the women that I've come across, of us being able to go from, there's all these stories and things that are up, to, wow, who is this beautiful person across from me? And so by the end of the event, then everyone's just in total and utter joy. And you realize the idea of competition or comparison is just ludicrous, because we're so unique. And it's so beautiful to just be able to celebrate wherever we're at. So that's the first 2.5 hours, where we do that through speaking and through a silent puja, where we get to see each other without words, and through some tools and some fun exercises that we really drop in with one another. And then I get to walk the ladies through road mapping of our yoni, of our pussy. Like, yoni is a tantric word for that area of our body. And so often, any type of trauma, whether it's sexual, physical, emotional, that's our softest tissues. And so that's where the memories go to. And so this is a way of being able to do clocking or road mapping through the yoni, through hands-on work, that's so beautiful if we can do that as woman to woman. Stuff that we've had stored in there for much of our life, so that then we open up all of these different pathways of pleasure and connection. And so I have a beautiful full color copy, and showing people how you can use sound, breath, and movement to be able to move those blocked energies in our bodies.
Sounds exciting. Too bad I can't be there.
Nope. He's barred from the house.
Well, you get to come later on in the evening, because then after the demo, then we have a little bit of time where the women get to work on one another to the level that they want to, and that can look like observing. And I had, again, that first Dakini Circle I had in Toronto, I had one woman that had not been touched in over 13 years. Like, she'd had really, really strong sexual trauma, and she just sat up on the couch with me and had me hold her heart and her yoni while she watched the women work on each other, and she just sobbed and sobbed and sobbed, and like released released all of this stored stuff just by watching. And now 3 years later, then she has a fiance, like all these things shifted and changed in her life, and she didn't get undressed. Like she just sat there and had the experience. And so for some people that it might look like that. For other women, then they're like, oh, yes, I can't wait to jump in. And so they pick partners and pair off and take their pants off and are able to work with one another. And for some people, it's the receiving that's really, really on the edge. And for other people, it's actually giving. And it's like, ooh, can I really touch another woman this way? And what does that mean about me? And at the end, again, whichever or however you decide to do the hands-on experience together, everyone just feels so close and so just cheerleading one another, and it's changing the dynamic. Every single time I've done a Dakini Circle, the dynamic changes from that competition or comparison or any stories that we've told ourselves about each other to just love and joy, and I'm so here for you, sister. And then Dan will get to come, because then we'll invite the men to come and honor the women after they've been blown open and had this vulnerable experience. And so then they get to be adored with roses and with adoration. And I can't remember, are we going to have some musicians, some drumming? We're going to have some fun stuff to have the women be adored.
We may have just the music. It depends. So, but we will have some fun as the men parade in to, I don't know, welcome us more deeply into our femininity. So, yeah, that'll be great. All right, that's a lot of stuff going on. Are we going to rest at all? Are we going to have time to eat? I know there's food during the puja. No, just kidding. There will be breaks throughout both days. The puja is only a 3-hour-long puja. There won't be, there'll be potty breaks and stuff like that. But don't worry, you're taken care of with water, light snacks. For the all-day event on Sunday, there will be a lunch break. We'll take care of that. All those details after you sign up. So again, that's the weekend-long introduction to Monique. We are hoping to create a community for Monique here, with Monique here. Really look forward to having her teach and share in all of her abundance with pleasure, passion, and play. So definitely check it out, and we hope to see you all. I know that there were, I'm looking over at our question wall. So let me see.
Well, I just had a question in general. So you started off in Utah, and then you went to some of these workshops out in California, and then with Reed Mahalko, but you're traveling all over the United States now, from what I understand. Can you tell us a little more about that?
Yes, for about 3 years, then I was driving from Utah to California, and I'd spend a week in California and then go back home to Utah. And eventually my family joined me in California, where we lived for 5 years. And then just last year, then they decided they wanted to move back to Utah. And so my boys went to live with my mom and until my husband decided to move back, and then I was free to go out on the road. And so I have 9 communities now, and then I just opened up Boston, and then I'm coming to you guys, so I'll have 11 communities that are all over the United States and Canada that I get to travel to like every 6 to 8 weeks. And so I just feel like I have family all over, and so we get to go deeper. And so whether I'm coming by myself or I like to bring my favorite collaborators like Reed and Lawrence and Eugene and Kai, and give people all these different experiences, from the total ultra spiritual, like we do Eastern pujas that are total adoration. And it's exactly what they offer to the deities in Hindu religion. And then you're offering that to the goddess. And so it's just these amazing experiences, all the way to play parties and to like ultra sexual events and everything in between. And so people get to come in at their own level and feel what it is that they want to explore. And the underlying theme of all of it is permission and consent and using your voice and being able to express yourself, give yourself permission to express yourself in however you are, because you're the gift. Like nothing that you do, nothing that you say, nothing you can ever impress or you give to people, none of that matters. Like those are just all aspects of us. It's who you be. That's the theme and underlying for all the events that I offer, is you getting back to yourself and giving yourself permission to just be that.
Nice. And all about choice as well. So people don't have to do anything they don't want to do. They're more enlivened with what it is that you have to offer. So that's really cool. So we're number 11, huh? Well, we're getting in late on the game with you.
Not amongst the top 10.
Yeah. Well, maybe we can make up for that with the people that show up. So speaking of people that show up, what kind of people do attend your events?
Oh, you guys, it's the full gambit. And so I have burners from Burning Man. I have Tantra people that are really wanting to gain skills. I have people that have never heard of any of this stuff before, and they're wanting just some communication skills. They're wanting to know more about themselves. And I've had ex-porn stars. I've had swingers. I've had like all these people that are wanting to have a different type of experience, because it does combine sexuality and spirituality in a way that a lot of people haven't experienced before. And so I've had from 18 years old all the way up to 88 years old, and everything in between. I have a lot of the gender fluidity community that love to come, and anyone that doesn't identify as just male or female or transgender, like however, that everyone's welcome. Like there's nobody's turned away. Like we're just so, the only people that we would ever turn away is someone that's not willing to hold the container of permission. So like if someone's coming and they're pushing boundaries and they're not, I have no problem at all asking them to leave. But we like to be so inclusive and allowing a safe space for everyone to be able to find themselves.
Yeah, we actually have a release form when people come to our events, and that's actually one of the things in there. We have the right to ask anybody to leave for exactly that reason. If they're not able to hold a container of a safe space,
or respect other participants, or heaven forbid, not respect themselves.
Right.
We will ask them to leave as well. So we're right there with you on that policy. So I have a question, because I'm very curious. You are one of the most successful women in terms of this type of work. So what do you think contributes to your success? You have 11 communities. I recently read on one of your posts how many classes and workshops you've actually facilitated. It's in the hundreds. There you go with your Cuddle Parties alone. You've got speaking engagements. What is it about you, or maybe we should actually say, but what is it about you that you can attribute to your own business and career mission success?
Well, part of it definitely is stepping into any of the places that scare me, and a huge part that a lot of my peers now are starting to do also was vulnerability. And so for me, I felt like a fraud. Like I felt like all these people, the biggest thing for me was 4 years ago, I had a big birthday party down in San Diego, and Reed was there, and Kamala, and like all these top Daka and Dakinis and sacred sexuality workers, and they were all like, I love you, Monique, and I'm up here, and everyone's pouring their hearts out, because we had like hot seat up at the front, and I really got vulnerably naked in front of everybody, like emotionally naked, and just shared that with everyone here, I'd never felt so alone. And from that point onwards, I started just being able to speak those unspeakable parts and those unlovable parts of myself. And it would be so scary. And then like Facebook has been the greatest platform for me, as I'd sit and write sometimes a paragraph, sometimes a long journal entry of like the scariest things for me. And people just started resonating. And even to this day, I have people write in and say, Monique, I was so stuck in this marriage, or I was so like life didn't feel worth living, or I felt so trapped in these spaces. And because you were able to speak about it, then I've come up and been able to speak about it with other people in my life. So I would say vulnerability, and like the being able to step into this fearlessness, or being, people call it fearlessness. I still feel scared. So I feel like stepping into it even if I'm afraid. And then just loving people, like really being yourself, because the more that I am myself and step into those shoes, then the more people are, oh, wow, Monique. And then people around me start being themselves too.
Yeah, one of the things I really loved about you when I was first talking to you about coming out here is there was no hesitation on your part. Not, first question I get a lot of times from people is, well, how many people are you going to have access to? How many people can we get there?
What can you promise me?
Right. How much money am I going to be able to make out of it? And you were like, yes, let's do it. I don't care if one person shows up or 100 people show up. Let's just do this, and we're going to have fun and play with it. So it's so refreshing to be able to do that, because we have so many people that are coming at this from such a business orient that I just love that. Yeah,
and just your excitation and your willingness to just dive in, and we're sort of relative unknowns to you. I mean, you may have heard of us through the extended community and the circles that we all travel in, but you were just like, your enthusiasm was just, sold. I'm in. Sign me up. So we're really glad that you're coming. When you were talking about that vulnerability piece, I just want to loop that back to the topic of shame, because you were willing, as I heard you say, you're willing to be absolutely vulnerable, emotionally naked, and actually share and communicate about your fears. And those are the remedy to shame, which is the class that one of the classes you're going to be teaching. So right there, I mean, you walk your talk, you walk the walk and you talk the talk, because you stood up there probably, I mean, I can imagine you're just shaking and trembling with all these names. They are the biggest names, Reed, Kamala. But you stood there in all of your fear, and when you release that, or not all of it, because you still, said that you have some fears, but you were willing to walk down that path and be seen as a vulnerable, amazing being. And that's actually the connection that we all crave, and that's the remedy for shame. So I love the fact that you are a complete example of how to eliminate shame and feelings of absolute terror. So congratulations on that. I want to get back to your book. You mentioned it at the very beginning. Tell us a little bit how's that progressed since we last saw you? When can people expect it? And more importantly, what's it all about?
And no pressure.
Well, it's 2/3 of the way done. Like, I'm taking all of December off to be able to finish writing it and getting it to my editor and to be published. And so the goal right now is to have it out February 1st, and the book tour will begin March 1st. So it's called Free to Be You, Rules to Live By. And it has taken all of the Cuddle Party rules, my own personal stories, and stories that I've seen of other people at Cuddle Parties or how Cuddle Parties have changed their lives, and then being able to take the rule out into real world use. Because for me, that's the whole goal, whether it's Cuddle Party or whether it's any type of workshop, it's being able to not have to keep going back to workshops. It's like taking that workshop you out into the world, so that then the world starts behaving differently because you're different. And so that's what the whole book's about, including exercises at the end of each chapter, so that there's some different ideas for you to be able to take this rule out and start using it and have real world experience. Because workshops are fantastic. I love them, but they're just a container to be able to start brewing ideas and giving you reference points for you to be able to start living your life differently.
Now, in order to understand the book, do readers have to have experienced a Cuddle Party?
No, it talks all about Cuddle Parties, and during my book release tour, then we'll be having a Cuddle Party in every city, so hopefully I'll come have one at your city too, and so people can experience it. Anyone that wants to come buy the book at that time or who has pre-ordered the book, but no, you don't have to have ever had experienced a Cuddle Party. You may want to after reading it, but the idea is, that's the whole point, is that the rules of Cuddle Party are the rules for life. And like, of course, they go way beyond that, but just doing those 11 things can totally and absolutely transform and change your life.
Cool.
Nice.
So let's talk a little bit about how you and I came, or how I came upon you the second time at Sex Geek Summer Camp. That's something that all three of us are very passionate about. It'd be really fun to express, what that's all about, what's been planned for 2015, and get some people excited about it. So you want to give it a shot, Monique?
Sure. Yeah, I just barely saw Reed last weekend, and we were talking about some of his ideas for next year, and I'm just, I love that man so incredibly much anyway. But like, Sex Geek Summer Camp is just one example of his genius out of the box ideas. And so it was so incredible to be able to experience with the two of you, and to watch your brain start firing and imagination. But it's this huge network opportunity for anyone that's out there doing sex positive work. And so Reed's gotten behind the scenes, and we went this year together, and next year is going to be even different teachers. So his idea is that each year that he'll have different teachers that will bring in different business sides, so that then we're able to take the things that we love and the stuff that we're wanting to offer and present and network with each other, so that we're all helping each other on this journey, and that we have the greatest tools available to be able to make money doing what we love. And it's all in this camp with the lake and the different classes and the connection with each other. That's priceless. Like, you can't put a price on it. It's incredible.
Yeah, it was really great for me to network with the people that are there. I come from the business world, but more the the high-tech business world. So I was going to a lot of networking meetings with that, meeting people from all sorts of big companies, Facebook, Yahoo, Apple, all that stuff. And there wasn't really anything out there for people in this industry, in the sexuality industry, that aren't porn. I know porn has the AVN awards and things like that, and I think it's a big networking thing for them. But for us, this really is the only place to be able to network as somebody working in the industry, trying to make a living doing this, trying to bring it out to people, and something that's so needed in our world. Just to reduce the repression that we have around our own sexuality is just so phenomenal. It was great meeting all the people that were there, including
it was
you,
a lot
Monique.
of fun.
Yeah.
So I just heard you say, as we know, that Reed is going to be creating a different roster of facilitators. Are you going to be there?
I will be there. I don't know if I'll be teaching this year, but I will definitely be at Sex Geek Summer Camp, and I am looking forward to it. I cannot wait.
So we took over the entire campground, so that was really fun. It was private to just the Sex Geek Summer Camp campers. That's redundant. But us campers, and we had all the elements, including rain. We had
Lots of rain.
A lot of rain, but it didn't prevent us from eating the s'mores and marshmallows that Reed was so excited about. So if for nothing else, come for the s'mores that Reed it was the highlight of his day. So there will be more, and again, after Dan has a chance to edit it, we can put in some information about Sex Geek Summer Camp. It's for sex educators, sex positive retailers, coaches, advocates, all of those who are out there trying to get the message of relationship education, intimacy skills, communication skills that will help people actually, as the beginning of the Beyond the Naked Talk spiel says, truly thrive in their love, whether it's their self-love or with their partners or in their community. So look for that. It's not to be missed if you're going to meet some fabulous peeps.
Yeah, but it is for those who are working in this industry, not just people who
not
want
just
to
fans.
attend. So it's not for everybody. That's for sure.
Yeah.
All right, so we need to go ahead and start wrapping things up. Is there anything that you'd like to add that we haven't covered, Monique?
Is it okay for me to say my website?
Of course.
No, of course.
So my website is juicyenlightenment.com, and you can go there. It has my calendar. It has videos and different things about my classes, or something that I just did this year because people were like, "You're everywhere, Monique. So how do we find you?" You can go very quickly and find my schedule at whereintheworldismoniquedarling.com.
Oh, that's fantastic. Well, we look forward to having you. We'll talk details about the airport pickup. You're coming in town next Thursday. I will meet and greet you. And bring your mucklucks. Right? Are they called mucklucks? Because it's cold out here, and I saw one.
It's cold at the moment. We don't know it's going to be cold.
We have a lot of snow. So plan to be a snow angel, and we'll make it work. We look forward to hosting you. And everybody, again, there's not enough I can say about Monique and her energy, so please come play during any one of the
pick one,
4 or
pick
5
all.
different opportunities that you have to get a taste of Monique, and one taste and you're going to be sure to be coming back. So that actually about wraps up tonight's Naked Talk. We want to thank everybody for being part of this really potent conversation. We want to thank our guest, Monique Darling, for being, just a fabulous co-facilitator, I don't know, co-speaker.
Yes.
Yeah, willing to get naked in a lot of different ways. So we also want to thank our sponsor, Tantra Dakini. Tantra Dakini is the online resource for materials relating to spiritual and sacred sexuality. So check that out at tantradakini.org. All of the events are listed at bedevents.com. Those coming up throughout the remainder of the year. We look forward to seeing you all here. And any other events that you want to talk about?
No, but I do want to say that, like Monique said, for her, she's going to take the month of December off. We're going to do that as well. We're going to take a well-deserved break, get some sleep, and really kind of figure out
Get some other things too.
About time. But anyway, we're really going to start working on what our offerings are going to be for next year. We expect to have a very big internet presence, so we're very excited about that. So stay tuned. Stay tuned for that. My voice is starting to go here.
Stay tuned for that.
Stay tuned. Yep. All right. Well, thanks everybody. Have a great night. Thank you, Monique. Love you.
Kisses, hugs. Can't wait to see you next week. It'll be a really, really good time. We'll keep each other warm and cozy.
Can't wait. Thank you, sweethearts.
Okay. See you soon.
Bye.
Travel safely.
Bye.
Bye, everybody.